So you are live. Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to live show, guys. Please write me in comments. Do you hear me well? Do you see me? And also, guys, write, please, where are you from? So waiting your comments. And guys, you can see that you have to subscribe to channel for sending comments. So guys, let me introduce my guest. Now you can write where you're from, and I will introduce my guest. My guest is Yen. Hello, Yen.
Hello, hello.
Hello. So, and today, guys, topic is residence permit. And very important that this video will be useful for most of people who is interested in to get residence permit. We will discuss today about special list when we will see what kind of countries can get new visa, new conditions for getting residence permit. And also, guys, if you are not in this list, this video also will be useful for you because Yen will tell us how he got residence permit and not by this from this list. Yes, he is already living in Russia 2 years, and he will share his experience. And before we start, guys, just 1 second. Just I check comments. Hi everyone. I'm from Macedonia and Slovenia. David, hello. David also, he is my student from Pushkin Institute. I invited him. And Yen also my student from Pushkin Institute. Hi David, nice to see you. Okay, hi everyone. I'm from Netherlands. Wow, good. So guys, you can write where you're from. It will be interesting to see. And also you can write, are you going to get residence permit or your plans about Russia? Okay. So guys, and before we start, I want to introduce my course because guys, you know, very important. If you're going to visit Russia, if you're going to get residence permit, Yen will tell you, yes, without Russian language, right? It's impossible to live here. So at least, guys, you will need to get basic knowledge. If you maybe not going to work in Russia, maybe you are going to work online to get money from your country when you were living before coming to Russia. Okay, but anyway, living in Russia impossible without knowing Russian language. So guys, I just share here my website, annaglobaltravel.ru. Everyone who wants to learn Russian, please welcome. You will see here all information. So you see here that my diplomas. So I graduated Moscow State University. So I'm professional teacher of Russian language for foreigners. So I will be happy to teach you Russian language. And just 1 second. Okay, and this course for you, what course will help you? This course will help you to start to speak learning Russian, and also you will get best vocabulary. Guys, I want to say that this is basic, so don't be scary. It's not like academic knowledge when we study in university. If you need it, of course, we can study academic knowledge, but this course it starts for basic and really help you. So, for example, you can talk about your daily routine. It's important if you want to find friends in Russia, right? Or to communicate with co-workers, or maybe to speak with a Russian woman. Very important to speak in her language because, you know, Russian people don't understand English. And so it's better to know Russian. So this course for you, if you want to start learning Russian, of course, if you want to study in university, and maybe you already study this one and you want to improve your knowledge and you want to repeat, also will be useful. And here also, if you go to my website, you will see my students. You will see how they speak Russian, and you will read their feedbacks and how course looks like. So you get access to this course after payment. Then you watch the video is short, don't worry, just 10 minutes. You watch this video, then you complete your homework, send me in Telegram chat, and then you can ask your questions and I will give you feedback. No, you can see it how course looks like in this way. And what is includes 20 pre-recorded videos. So just 20 pre-recorded videos, and you're ready with a basic Russian level. So just go to my website, guys, for checking details, and also prices about course you will find also on my website. So I'm finished with my course. Okay, and let me, guys, just 1 second. So guys, let me introduce my guest. My guest is Yen, and Yen is not only a guest from America, he is also my student. I know him last 2 years. So, and he is studying Russian language with me, and I invited Yen for today live show because I see last I don't know, maybe last months, I see so much videos on YouTube, how to move to Russia. I see so many foreigners choosing Russia for relocation, Americans, people from Europe, also my students from other countries whom I'm teaching online. Also, they're all interested about studying Russian language and living in Russia. So Jan, could you please tell a few words about yourself, and then we will check this residence permit list.
Yes, absolutely. So like Anna said, I've been living in Russia for about 2 years now, and I've been studying Russian with her, and I've also been going through the Russian immigration process, which is not easy. And I don't think any country has an easy immigration process. I think if you go to any major country, it's going to be difficult, but not knowing the language makes it even more difficult. So that's why it's very important to study Russian if you intend to live in Russia or even spend a long period of time here. So I did. So as of right now, I have the temporary residence permit, which is good for 3 years. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the requirements I had to complete for it. And I'm also going to talk about this new change, this new visa that Russia is introducing and rolling out as of last month. And what that visa does is eliminates a couple of the requirements that I had to go through. So normally the process for getting to Russia, so what I did is, as an American, I was able to get a 3-year multi-pass visa. So what that means is I could come and go from Russia. It's different because most visas that people get are just one time. You show it to the official at the border control. They put a stamp on it, and it's just good at that one time. You come and you stay for a week or a month or however long your visa is, and then you leave and you can't come back without applying for a new visa. But what I had was, I'm not sure if there's any other country besides the USA that has this deal with Russia, but I was able to get the 3-year tourism visa, which means I can actually stay for up to 6 months at a time. And I can come and go as I please, and which means I could stay in Russia for 6 months, leave for 1 day, then come back for another 6 months. It was a very generous deal. So I used that visa to come to Russia a couple of times, And then as of, I want to say, yes, about a year and a half ago is when I started looking into the residence permit, and I actually applied for it about 6 months ago. And it took about 4 months for that visa to be approved. So now I have a temporary residence permit. And I do have a question from David. I don't know if you want to display that.
Okay.
Yes, so question to Ian. Once you get a temporary residence permit, does it act the same like a multi-visa? Or do I need a separate multi-visa in addition to the temporary residence permit? So the answer is no, they're not different. Oh, I'm sorry. They are different. They are completely different things. And also, it's very important to know that you cannot possess more than one visa at the same time. So if you apply, that doesn't mean you can't apply for new visas, but if you are approved for a new visa, when you turn in your passport, they will put a stamp on your old visa saying that's no good anymore. That visa is expired, and you just switch to that new visa. So in my case, when I got the temporary residence permit, that invalidated my tourism visa, so I can't use that visa anymore. I have to use the new one. Now, it actually works differently too, and that's one of the topics I actually want to bring up. Thank you, Anna. You can close that comment for us. But it's very important to know this, because once you get a residence permit, you have to actually, once you have a residence permit to live in Russia, you actually have to live in Russia. You should be, yep, there you go. And you have to actually live in Russia. So as of right now, if I leave Russia for 6 months, if 6 months goes by, my visa will be expired, and I will not be able to re-enter Russia without getting a new visa. But with the tourism visa, I could leave and stay out of Russia as long as I wanted, because it's not a residence visa. With the tourism visa, I do not have the right to work in Russia. I could not apply for their public health care system, just basically all of the rights that actual residents have. I did not have, because I was just a tourist. Once I had the residence permit, I had almost all of the same rights. As of right now, I have almost all of the same rights as a Russian citizen. The only right I don't have is voting, and also military service. I cannot enter the regular military as just a resident. So besides those two things, I can do almost all of the same things a Russian can do. But I have to actually stay in Russia. If I leave for 6 months, then this visa is invalidated. But once you get here, David
So
asked
does it mean that you can leave Russia, but maximum
is 6 months, right? I can't.
Less than, so for example, you can leave for 6 months. Or for
I can
5
leave.
months.
Yeah, you can still travel. You can still leave and do whatever. It cannot exceed 6 months in total. So
and also you can use medical insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, because most of people, they're interesting, because as I know, for example, in America and in Europe, medicine service is very expensive, and people wait really, for example, 6 months. So you can make an appointment with a doctor and wait 6 months. In Moscow, for example, no, because I live in Moscow, I will speak about Moscow. I can't say about other cities, but maybe something similar. In Moscow, I can make appointment, for example, for tomorrow if I need a doctor, and you can do the same, right? You
Yes.
also have, and we call it in Russian language polis. Do you also have polis medical?
I actually still need to apply.
You need.
So for those of you who don't know, Russia has actually a digital app that you can install on your phone. It's called Goslugi, right? Goslugi?
Goslugi, yes.
Goslugi. And that is where basically all of your government services. So I still need to log on to mine and sign up for healthcare. I have not done
And
that
also,
yet.
very important, you mentioned that foreigners who get this residence permit, they it's not necessary go to the military service, right?
That is correct. So
No,
for
only if they
Russian,
want. It's no one forced
well,
them.
right. I'll explain. So in Russia does have a mandatory military service. So when a man turns 18 years of age, he is eligible to be called up to the military. And that's anybody who is either born in Russia as a Russian citizen or anyone who becomes a Russian citizen and gets a Russian passport. If you do not have a Russian passport, you are legally unable to join the regular military. And I say the regular military because you are still eligible to, like Anna said, voluntarily get with a military contract. And you are, if you're a resident, you are eligible for those. And now I'm going back to the to the residence permit. So as of last month, Anna, you mentioned you were going to show some slides for that, right?
Slides, okay.
Yes. Why don't you pull up the first slide? So they put up, as of last month, August 19th, they're going to, what they did is there's a list of certain foreign countries. And if you're a citizen of those foreign countries, you can get a simplified residence permit that eliminates some of the steps that I had to go through. Now, the first step that I had to go through getting that tourism visa, according to this, and I did look at the Russian embassy website for the USA, and I did not see any changes to the website. So I guess I assume they just haven't done it yet and they're going to. But what's this new order is talking about is they, to get to Russia, you do need a visa to get to Russia, and you cannot apply for a residence visa anywhere except in Russia. You have to already be in Russia. So the first step is to get an entry visa. And so what this bill does is it gives you what's called a private visa that's good for 3 months. And so you can apply for that private visa at the Russian embassy or consulate in your own country and give them the required documents. They give you that 3-month visa, and then you travel to Russia with those documents. And that gives you a whole 3 months to legally live in Russia, get housing, do all the things you need to do to take care of yourself in Russia, and apply for that residence permit. Now, the second part of that process is it eliminates some of the steps. So there's 2 very important steps that this eliminated. Normally, to get a work or a residence permit in Russia, you have to apply for a quota, as in every Russian state in the Russian Federation, every individual state has their own quota. They only take a certain number of immigrants every month or every year. And so you have to apply, hey, I want a quota. If they approve your quota, that's a separate piece of paper. Then you come back and say, now I have a quota. I want to apply for a residence permit. And of course, like 6 different people will all ask you, well, do you have a quota? Do you have a quota? It's like, yes, I already got the quota. I have the quota. And then you give them all your documents, and then you wait 3 to 4 months. And then you come back again, you give them your passport, you wait another week, and then they give you the residence permit. Now, another thing this bill does is that it normally you have to present a certificate showing that you have a certain skill level in Russian. And there are 3 different skill levels. The lowest skill level, I believe, is B1 for the simple work permit. That's the lowest level they will take. Then there's B2 for a residence permit. And then the final one for a permanent residence permit is C1, showing that you are actually completely fluent. As of right now, I'm a level 2. I passed the B2 exam. To actually get the final residence permit that I need, I will have to at some point pass the final Russian exams. But what this new bill does is it understands, it takes a while to take Russian. Russian's not something you can learn in a few months. It's not possible. So what this does is you can apply for that 3-year residence permit without knowing Russian. You do not need to present a language certificate. But at the end of that 3-year period, and you want to either renew your residence permit or get a permanent residence permit, you do need to provide a certificate. So what this does is, rather than having to learn Russian at first, you can learn Russian after you're already here. I'm going to look at the comments. We did get a couple of comments.
Yes.
So there's one from Travel to Worlds. How can I get a quota? Yes. So the quota, you go to your local migration police, which is the Interior Ministry. So you go to the local Interior Ministry office in wherever you're living and apply for a quota. Though if you get this new visa, you do not, and you are on that list of countries, of approved countries. I think there was 47 countries, something like that.
Yeah, we can show you guys which countries on the list, so we can see.
So you can see there's quite a few. They're mostly in Europe, North America, and East Asia. That's where most of these countries are. Is Canada on this? I think
Canada, yes.
Yes. Canada's there. It's in Canada is a Commonwealth country. Yes, so Canada's on the list. So
most of people are surprised about countries, and I want to say for people who is not in this list, guys, very important that on this list, Russian government added not friendly countries, right? So, like for example, India, it's friendly country for Russia. So the idea of this list is to give a chance for citizens of unfriendly countries that if they want move to Russia, they can. So if you belong to friendly countries, so you don't, I think, need this list, you can get a visa very easy. It's only for not friendly countries. Am I right, Jan?
Yes, you are correct. To answer David Zafirovsky's question, I want to say yes, though you should, if you're going to do something serious like that, you need to talk to an attorney. You need to get a consultation. Usually it doesn't cost very much. There are lawyers in Moscow who offer consultations for immigrants, and they're usually not very expensive for an introduction, just to give you an interview with that person. There's some who speak English because, they talk to a lot of foreigners. I would ask one of them. Don't take my word for it, but I believe if you have a temporary residence permit, you can do basically anything. You can start your own business. You can be self-employed. You can work for a company or be self-employed. You can do basically anything. But still, since opening a business costs a lot of money, so talk to a lawyer first so you don't get in any trouble. But I think you are okay to do any of those things, because I know there are one group of people that very often come to Russia are American farmers, sometimes Canadian farmers. They just want to go to a quiet country and be left alone and just farm. So they'll sell their property in the USA and they'll have a lot of money because, they can sell all of that land. Then they can buy new land in Russia and buy farm equipment and buy all the stuff they need to have a farm in Russia. They don't have any trouble doing that. However, still talk to an attorney to make sure there's no additional permits. And also, it's Russia. Russia loves certificates and permits. It's one of their favorite things to do. So I'm sure to open a coffee shop, you'll need several, permits. You'll probably need something with the city to operate a business. I'm sure there's several different documents you're going to need. So be sure to consult with the lawyer. But to answer your question in general, yes, you can do any of those things.
I also think why not? Because if it's allowed to work, so why not? If you can't open your... Oh, I like this question, Jan. Learning Russian is the hard part. What do you think?
Well, yes. And actually, I argue I get into a lot of arguments on Facebook with people because I will see people from like America who are complaining and they say, well, you know, and they'll complain about politics and they'll be like, well, if the country goes broke, we will just move to Russia and it's easy. And I tell them, no, guys, it's not easy to move to Russia. And they don't believe me and they argue with me. And like some of them will even point at this bill. They're like, well, look, Putin just said it's easy. It's like, well, it really isn't easier. The problem is that, so it's good that it took away the quota, because a quota can be a stumbling block because you get a lot of, especially Moscow, which is where most immigrants go. Most of the foreign immigrants come to Moscow. And the problem with Moscow is it also gets a lot of people from former Soviet countries, or excuse me, former Soviet republics, like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. They will all come. And so like there's hundreds, thousands of these people will come and fill up the quotas. So, and they will all be waiting, like at the beginning of the year, they'll all come in and get a quota. So it can be difficult for someone else. Like I was lucky and I got my quota on the first try. Several times before he was able to get a quota. Yes.
It was some short 2 seconds disconnection. Now
Oh, was I disconnected? Was I disconnected? Can you hear me now?
Just for 2 seconds now. Okay.
Oh, just a disruption in the connection. But yeah, so I have a French friend who had to apply for a quota several times before he was approved. And that took a while. He had to apply for, it took him a couple months just to get that first step. So the nice part is that there's no quota, but here's the problem with not having to learn Russian, you know, because this document says, oh, you don't have to present a certificate. The problem is that if you don't know Russian, how are you going to talk to anybody? You can, if you're lucky, maybe like I had my girlfriend here. So I was lucky to have someone who could, you know, go around with me and help me with the process. I had, you know, having a friend or, you know, just having somebody to do that with. But the problem is because of security, you very often can't bring a second person with you to immigration interviews. So you're alone.
So you can't find, for example, some consultant or take interpreter who will follow you and translate.
I don't want to say can't, because maybe if you are a professional translator, maybe you can get special permission from the government. Maybe it's possible to give for the government to give someone special permission so he can go to police stations with a client. Maybe those people exist. But just your friend or whoever, even a relative, like it has to be the actual person immigrating. It can't even be a family member who's already a Russian citizen. So you have to be able to talk to Russian. And also there's the medical exams. You have to take medical exams. You can't do the medical exams before you have to come to Russia. You have to do them here. And so you have all these doctors who are telling you things. And if you don't understand what especially when they'll give you instructions. If you don't understand your instructions, what are you going to do? So it's very hard to do anything. So I would say, even though it's not required, to try to learn enough Russian that you can have very simple conversations. Just try to learn as much Russian as you can. You're not going to be fluent, but you'll know it hopefully enough that you can get through those conversations. I did when I met Anna. It was at Pushkin Institute, which is a language institute in Moscow. And that, Anna, do you remember how many hours that program was? Do you remember?
In Pushkin Institute?
Right, that 10-month program. Do you remember how many hours that gives you?
Yeah, it was, so in this institute, we will study Russian 4 days per week. And it was...
was it 2,000 hours or was it 1,000?
Hours
total.
I don't remember total, but we can.
they gave me a certificate. I don't remember what it said. It's not
Yeah, I
important,
also
but
don't remember.
basically after, and I hadn't finished the course yet, but after like 6-7 months in that course of studying Russian intensely 4 days a week, plus homework and all that, I was able to get a certificate and talk to people a little bit and get through all that. But to
Yeah, so
answer this question, go ahead.
that you can see it's very important to learn Russian, and it's better for you. Of course, you can come here without knowing Russian, but it will be better if you start to prepare in advance. Like, for example, if you're going to move next year, or maybe also if you're going to do it after 1 year, you can start right now, and it will be not stressful for you. For example, some people like who come to Russia, they go to university or go to some courses and they study Russian language every day. So they have course like 5 days per week or 4 days per week, and every day they study 3 or 6 hours. It's an intensive course, and maybe better for you. Like in August, I had one tourist from England, and he said that he's studying Russian language. He has online course in England, and his course is 2 hours per week. That's it. And during 6 months, he reached A1 level. So also
You
slowly.
mean B1 level?
A1.
He reached A. Isn't that the first level?
The first level A1. No, because he has just 2 hours per
Oh,
week.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you have 2 hours per week and during 6 months, you reach just one level. But if you have more classes, of course, you will reach faster, because in university, usually we reach next level after 2 months. So 2 or maximum 3 months from, yeah. So guys, here my website. And guys, also I want to mention that don't forget we have super chat. You can support this stream, and you can support my channel. Also, if you don't have option to use super chat, super stickers, you can see here my PayPal. Welcome. I appreciate any donation, and all your donation I use for
The
for
cat.
Vadik. Yeah, also Vadik will be happy because yeah, in my previous streams, some sent donation for Vadik. So I use your donation for improving my channel. I'm going to buy a new gimbal. Also, I want to buy wireless microphone, and I want to travel and do video for you in Russia. Like I want to visit Karelia, Murmansk. So welcome who wants to support my channel. So yeah, shall we back to presentation or?
Yes. What did you have after this slide?
That's it. Yeah. So it just
That's it.
mentioned so that everyone from unfriendly countries who share with Russia traditional Russian values, all these citizens of these countries, they can get it, and that's it.
Yes, and the other thing is, so that's one obstacle, is that language. And I want to answer, Anna, do you see this comment? Travel to world, in which city to apply for quota?
Oh, yes.
So the answer to travel to world's question, in which city to apply for a quota, and the answer to that is the city you want to live in. Because the problem is when you get a quota, you have to say in that city, or not that city, but that region, that state, that Russian oblast that you applied for. You can, if you want to live somewhere else, you have to apply for a new permit. Now, that said, supposedly, according to this new law, because there's no quota, because you're not on a quota, allegedly, and I would check when you actually come to Russia and go through this process. I would ask those migration officers you're working with, ask them this. Don't just assume, because I haven't because this is very, I also understand this visa is very new. It's very experimental. Every situation is going to be a little different because they're so new. There's going to be problems, but I would ask people, but supposedly with this new residence permit, because you don't need a quota, you're more free to live where you want. That's what I've seen some people claim. I don't know if that's actually
So, Jan,
true.
does it mean that if person wants to live in Moscow, he must get it from Moscow if he wants
That
to
is
live?
correct.
What happened if, for example, he got it in Moscow and then he decided to move to Vladivostok? I don't know.
Then he would. Well, so you can visit. So it doesn't mean you can't travel in Russia. Like I can travel wherever I can leave Russia. I can go to other places in Russia and not get in trouble. They're not going to say, "Oh, you can't visit. You're not allowed to visit other cities in Russia." No one's going to say that. However, to actually live in a place, you need to have the correct documents. So the answer to that question is, let's say you find a very good job, or maybe you meet a girlfriend in the Far East that you like very much, maybe, I don't know. But if you decide to move, you have to visit the interior ministry in that region and say, I want to move here. And then start a whole new process, which can take several months. It can take, I think, expect the whole process to take about 5 months in total. Right. So travel to keeps asking, in which city is it easier to get quota? Well, I don't know, because I don't think there's any city where maybe there's some very small, far away region that doesn't get very many immigrants. But the problem is, I don't think what he's understanding here is that you have to actually live there. You can't just get a quota wherever you want. You have to actually live there. So if you go to a village in the middle of the forest and get a quota there, that's fine. And maybe you didn't have to wait, but you actually have to live there now. So, and most immigrants don't, because immigrants need jobs. They need they need a school. There's lots of things immigrants need to live in Russia, and those very provincial areas aren't necessarily going to have all the things you need to move to Russia. But yeah, to answer like what Anna said, if you want to, if you're an immigrant living in Moscow and you want to say go to St. Petersburg, and St. Petersburg is in the Leningrad region, so that means you have to find the Leningrad interior ministry people and say, "Oh, I want to move to this oblast." It can be very complicated. But you can, but the second time is easier because one, the process. On which visa came to get visa to start business or buy property? Well, it's the residence. So the work
Again,
permit.
a question about business, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So the work permit, the lowest permit you can, as far as I understand, you can only work. You can't really do anything else. Like if you want to be a pizza delivery driver, you can do that. But if you get the second level permit, which is the one I have, which is the the permit we're talking about, the residence permit, you should be able to do all those things.
And so does it mean that if person doesn't speak Russian, he can be a delivery guy, right? They don't ask high level.
Well, and that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight, is because you have a lot of people who say, I don't like my country, or I want to go live somewhere else. Well, the problem is, Russia is not Uzbekistan, right? It's not, it is a higher income country. It's not as high income as the USA or say France, obviously, but, it is expensive. So you need to think about money, and you have to think about what kind of job you're going to have. So like me, I have a military pension, so that's what I live on. And so that's what every person needs to think about, because, because Russian property is expensive. You have to buy food, you have to eat, you have to get taxis and trains and clothes, all those things you need. and so you really have to think about. I mean, if your plan is to come to Russia and deliver pizza, I mean, Anna and I were looking at the paychecks that couriers make in Moscow, and it's pretty good actually. But I would say I would say the easiest way to get to Russia is if you work remotely. So like if you have a business of your own or you work for a company that doesn't care where you live, that's very easy, because even on a tourist visa, even on a tourist visa, you can come to Russia and do your old job. No one in Russia is going to care if you're working for a different, what I'm saying, if you're still doing that remote job, no one's really going to care. The reason why they care with the residence permit is because if you have a Russian job, there's Russian taxes, and the Russian government wants their money. So that's why you have to be legal if you're going to work a Russian job. So you have to think about that. Are you going to just to keep your old job and work remotely? Or are you going to try and get a Russian company to hire you? Or are you going to try and start your own business? So that's money, and it's also language. Because if you're going to start a business, well, how are you going to start a business if you can't talk to anybody, right? Because everybody speaks Russian.
Yeah, so Yen, are you going to get any kind of job in Russia? What is your plans?
Yes. Yes. So I have a blog that I write on. There's a couple books I'm working on. I'm thinking, I don't immediately need a job. I'll probably get a job of some sort. I'm not quite sure what it would. It'd probably be something in the news media, like a copy, not writing in Russian. I don't think I can compete with actual Russian speakers writing in Russian, but I could probably be like an English copywriter or something like that. And MK just had a question, had an answer. Actually, MK just posted answers it. So there is, I'm not quite sure what she means by a patent, but
No, so could you, MK, elaborate, please? What do you mean? Again, what do you think? Is it possible for foreigners to find job? For example, let's say if someone, like you, also have middle language knowledge, knowledge of Russian language. So, for example, you know Russian, but you don't speak
yes.
fluent. What kind of jobs? Because I, to be honest, I'm local, right? So I have never searched job like foreigner. So my eyes is different. So I don't know what you see by your eyes. So is it hard to find job? Do we have a lot of jobs for English speaking people, for example? So.
Yes, you can get so like IT. And I think like I have a friend who is a French IT person, and he was able to get a job fairly easily. I think if I had applied for a job, there's probably a few different jobs I could get pretty easily, especially now because of the sanctions, and people are scared, and a lot of Western companies pulled out, like RT and Sputnik and some of the other big news agencies lost most of their their native English speakers. They just went home. So there's a lot of opportunities for that. So I think if you're an English speaker who speaks, beginner and middle level Russian, you can probably get a job pretty easily. And MK followed up with another comment.
MK, he elaborate. Yeah.
Yes. So, yes. So that's the. I think that's actually the third. That was actually what I was probably thinking about earlier. I just didn't remember the name of it. This is the working visa, essentially. And also one thing to bear in mind, and this is also this is what influenced that list. Some countries have a special relationship with Russia. It's generally just the ex-Soviet countries. If you are a citizen of these countries, or if you have a parent who is a citizen of the Soviet Union, that can simplify your that can simplify the process for getting for living and working in Russia if you're from an ex-Soviet country. So that's what a lot of those guys, for those guys from Central Asia, it's very easy for them to come and work in Russia, to drive a taxi or deliver food, because they're from one of those adjacent ex-Soviet countries. So it's actually
because they already know basic Russian, right?
Well, legally, it's easier for them because they're a citizen of those countries. So just legally, they can come into the Interior
So
Ministry.
they don't need permission.
Right. It's a lot easier for them to get permission to come and work in Russia than it is for someone from France or from the USA. And I also want to bring up another thing related to money. So if you have savings, or if you have income, like if you have a website or just whatever, if you have some way of making money in a Western country, it is possible to legally, and you're not committing a crime. It's not against the law to do this. You can get your Western money to Russia with cryptocurrency. So if you buy if you use your euros or dollars to buy cryptocurrency and then sell your cryptocurrency and deposit those rubles, in your Russian bank account, then that's how you got your Western money. It's not a crime. You didn't break any laws, and it works. That's what a lot of people do.
So Ian, is it the most popular way, right, to transfer money from other country to Russia by crypto?
You can buy crypto. Another way to do it, and I think an equally popular way, is if you have a passport, or if you have a friend or a family member in a friendly middle country. It's possible to transfer money to that person. Like, for example, let's say like Kazakhstan has a lot of people like this. Like if you have a friend in Kazakhstan or a family member in Kazakhstan, you can transfer money to that person, then they transfer it to Russia, because Kazakhstan is still a friendly country with Russia. And there's also, go ahead.
Sorry, is it possible, because I have never tried this, if, for example, a foreigner open a bank account in Kazakhstan or Belarus, and then use this card in both countries, in Russia, or no, he can maybe transfer money, let's say, from Europe, or never mind, from other country to Kazakhstan, and then from Kazakhstan he can transfer to Russian bank. Do you know, is it possible?
It's possible, but I think in the last 5 to 10 years, most countries have stricter laws on who can open a bank account. So like I went to an Armenian bank, and I asked them, hey, I'm an American citizen, can I open an account? And they said, yes, but only if you have a work or student permit residence permit in Armenia, which I did not. So I think, and I think most countries have laws like that now, because of money laundering and crime. Most countries are passing new laws to make it harder for foreigners to open accounts. So
Ian, we can recommend to our subscribers learn crypto, right? It's the best way to transfer money. Also, Ian, is it possible to open a bank account in China? I was joining one of the live streams, and also American people, they were talking about that someone can open account in China and use I forgot this China card, Union Pay, and then they can use this Union Pay card in Russia.
It's probably just as hard to open if you're a foreigner. Like if you're a foreigner and you don't live in China and you don't work in China. But Union Pay is like Mir or Visa or MasterCard. Union Pay is a payment system used by cards. So what I think those Americans are probably talking about is finding a bank in the United States that uses the Union Pay system, because Visa and MasterCards disconnected from, well, they didn't exactly disconnect from Russia. What they did is they divorced Russian cards from cards outside Russia. So if you have a Visa card, so like, for example, I actually have a Russian Visa card that I got in 2022. It only works in Russia, even though it's a Visa. But with Union Pay, it will work anywhere that accepts Union Pay. And now, and actually on that same note, if you are from a friendly country like Egypt, for example, I know Egypt has Mir cards.
Mir card.
Yes, maybe
Well,
India does too. I don't know if India does, but
if I travel to Egypt, I can pay by my Mir card.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I think Armenia, because their feelings are hurt right now, I think they ended the Mir card agreement. But when I was in Armenia, Mir card worked there as well.
No, Armenia, yes, Armenia, Kazakhstan, but I'm surprised about Egypt. So I didn't.
Well, Egypt gets a lot of Russian tourists. That's actually very funny. About a year ago, I read this blog post by this Polish woman, actually, and she doesn't like Russia, but she has a very Slavic looking face. So she came to Egypt, and everybody thought she was Russian and would talk to her in Russian, and she was so upset. Like she would sit down at a restaurant and the waiter would give her a menu in Russian, and she would say, "I'm not a Russian." it really,
I never upset if someone, I don't know why people sometimes think that I'm looking like Italian woman or like French, but I never upset her. I don't mention if someone think I'm looking like a French. Okay, bonjour. So no problem, because it's really sometimes our face is changing. If I travel in Europe, everyone thinks that I'm Italian or French girl. Okay.
Maybe it's fashion. Maybe it's your fashion. Oh, and here's a question from Aditya Shukla. Is it more difficult to get a resident permit? It's a second comment from him. Is it more difficult? Is it more difficult to get a resident permit in Russia than in other Western countries? The answer is I don't know, because I was born in the USA, so I obviously didn't need an American Russian or an American residence permit. So I don't know. I think it's probably about the same, because I think if you go to any country that I think if you go to any country, they're going to want to know the same things. Are you a criminal? Do you have an infectious disease like tuberculosis or AIDS? And do you have, the correct identification?
Yeah. So does the government checking these things? So, for example, if person criminal, so it will be complicated for him, right, to get residence
Yes.
permit.
So, and this is something every person has to research on their own. You do need a document confirming that you have a clean background. There is a special. It's not a normal. It's actually, I don't think it's a normal background check. It's a special document basically verifying that you do not have a criminal record, and you have to get it from your own government. You can get it at the embassy in Russia, or you can get it before you leave your country. But you have to check, because some of the embassies in Russia closed or offer limited services. So you need to make sure so if you're planning to get that document while you're in Russia, you need to make sure your consulate offers that service still, because some of them don't, which means you have to get it before you leave your country. So yes, so that's probably the most, because all the others, because besides your passport, all of the other documents you can get in Russia. But one thing that you might not be able to get is that background check. Only your own government can verify you're not a criminal in your country.
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate, or I don't understand why people should come to Russia for 3 months and then come back to their countries. Why they can't get this visa in their countries and then live in Russia? So they come to Russia, get, as you said, one kind of visa, yes, then come back to their countries and get this permanent residence.
They do not need, well, they do not have to come back to their home country. I mean, they can,
Ah,
but they don't have to. So that's 3 month private visa. That is so you can legally enter Russia and live in Russia while you wait for your
ah,
temporary visa, right? Because
mhm.
you can't even get on a plane to Russia unless you have a visa, because they'll just look. Even your airline won't let you board the plane. They'll ask for your passport, and they'll say and they'll say, because they check on the computer your destination, and they say, well, your ticket says you're going to Russia, but Russia requires a visa. Where is your visa? And if you say I don't have a visa, they won't let you get on the plane. And
So it
ticket
means that when person come to Russia, he has 3 months if he needs come back.
exactly.
But after 3 months, he couldn't move. He must wait at least 6 months, right? No, he must wait until he gets this permanent visa, and after that he can travel, right?
It's a good question. I'm not sure if because this private visa, I've never seen this private visa. I don't
Okay.
know what the
Mhm.
rules are for leaving the country are.
And as I
I'm
know, people with this visa have 3 years, right, to learn Russian language.
correct. So and also bear in mind that this is two different documents. The first document is your private visa, which is good for 3 months. Russia does already give a different. It's a different kind of private visa. The existing private visas that Russia gives is if you have, if you're a citizen of a different country, but you have family in Russia, like a wife or a mother or a brother or sister, maybe. And so basically, that's an invitation from that family member to come visit you. But this private visa is new, and I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know what the requirements are if you're allowed to leave Russia on that. I mean, of course you can leave. The question, I mean, they're not going to force you to stay in Russia if you don't want to stay in Russia. The question is, are you allowed to leave Russia and come back on this visa? I don't.
Yeah, this is important. Mhm.
Right. Um, but
Okay.
and also another equally important detail is that it does take longer than 3 months to get your residence. It's going to take 4 months. Even after you submit all of your paperwork, it takes them 4 months to process um, it. But from what I've seen online, and this was actually the case with me too, if they give you a document, what's it called? A pravka? Is that what's called? A piece of paper. Pravka,
Spravka.
right? Spravka. Thank you.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, please.
even if it expires, you're not going to go to jail because you have an expired Spravka. You're still waiting. They understand that you're still waiting for it. You've applied, you're waiting. So even if it takes you 4 months or 5 months, you're still legal. You're not an illegal or undocumented immigrant. You have all the correct documents. You're just waiting. And then once you have that temporary residence permit, you are free to do what you want to do. You just can't stay outside of Russia more than 6 months out of the year, or your visa will be invalidated and you'll have to start over. That's
Yeah,
one
and
problem.
also a question about driving. So if person have the residence permit, can he drive a car? How it works? Like if someone wants, for example, to take in Russia car sharing, if he can, car sharing service in Russia we have.
If you have a visitor's visa, like a tourist visa or a business visa, and probably I'm guessing maybe this, I don't know what the driving rules are going to be with this new private
Yes, I know
visa.
with travel visa, yes, you can.
But yeah, if you're a tourist, for example, you can use your
Mhm.
driver's license in your, I mean, there's probably specific rules for it. Like they probably will want you to get a notarized translation of your driver's license so police can actually read it. But you can legally drive with your old driver's license. What you can't do is, the problem is that once you become a resident of Russia, you are beholden to Russian law at that point. I mean, everybody's beholden to Russian law when they're in Russia, but you're no longer technically a foreigner anymore. You're a resident of Russia, which means
And
you
you
have
must
to
pass exam like a Russian person.
Yes, which is what I'm doing now. I'm actually, when I
Yes,
have
now
lessons
we
with
learn.
Anna, we're learning words and phrases and
And you
terminology
can't
for driving.
legally drive without a Russian license.
Correct. Yes. And when I had my tourist visa, I did not, because I didn't need to, because there's trains and buses and they were good enough. I didn't need a car. But now, if I'm going to be in Russia a long time, I want to get a driver's license, but I have to get a Russian one now because I have that residence permit.
Yeah, so guys, you can so don't worry if you don't have driving license, because, for example, if we compare Russia, let's say with America, or I don't know which some kind of places like Dubai. So there are some places in the world when you can't survive without car, right? Like in Dubai, the city is not for walking. In America, a lot of places you can't reach. But for example, if we speak about Russia, especially about Moscow, St. Petersburg, also which city I visited, Kazan, you can feel comfortable without car, because public transport is very fast, so you don't need car. Always you can take a taxi in some urgent cases, so don't worry. You have time. But for people who is thinking about driving, so let's see. The question. I can answer. Indian rupee card works in Russia. Guys, no, in Russia, not working cards. Only Russian cards working, right?
I don't know. Maybe I've never. I'll be honest. I don't know if it works or not.
No, this Indian rupee card. So, like Chinese bank, they have Union Pay, and in India they have rupee card, and they think.
Oh
Guys,
yes, Ru is
maybe,
like rupee, right?
yeah, guys, maybe it depends on I don't know, future, if Russia and India will have some, I don't know, strong connection, and maybe it will be allowed, but now not allowed. So only Russian cards working. So that's why I always suggest you take cash if you go to Russia. And and guys, I want to say that there is no miracle, because actually I had one tourist. It happened right now, like in August. One Indian guy, he came to Moscow, and he found me and sent me a message that can you guide me? I said, of course, welcome. I'm tour guide. And he said, oh, can you do it today? I said, why today? No, let's do it tomorrow. And he said, because urgent, I must come back to Dubai. And he was Indian. I said, what happened? He said, I came to Moscow and my card's not working.
Oh no.
I said, why you come here to? He said, I thought maybe if I can try. So it was very strange, and that's why I always say there is no miracle. Card's not working, and he started to ask all his Indian friends in Russia, and no one helped him. Only me, I helped. Yeah, so I have PayPal, yes, and I said him that he can transfer money to my PayPal, and I gave him cash, and he survived. I gave him.
It's a good lesson. I think. Well, maybe that guy. I think maybe he wanted a Russian wife too much. Maybe he was thinking too much about a Russian wife and not enough about how he was
Maybe, I
going
don't
to
know.
buy food, how he's going to buy food.
No, because it's really strange. No, he said he has girlfriend in Dubai and she bought for him flight tickets. No, but it's really strange how people come and so guys, cards not working, only cash.
It was very funny. One time, well, so my first cards in Russia, I got it from a Swiss bank that also had branches open in Russia. So it was a Visa. It was a Russian Visa card. Then when I opened an Alpha Bank account, I got a mirror card. It was very funny. It was I don't remember where this was, but I remember there was some terminal. It was like at a train station or something, and I was trying to use my mirror card, and the terminal kept rejecting it. I'm like, I'm in Russia with the Russian card. Why isn't it working? And I looked at the side of the machine and had a list of all of the payment services, and it had all of these foreign permit. The only one it didn't have was mirrors. Oh, I remember. It was one of the. It was a toilet. It was one of those big public toilets they have.
Why they don't accept mirror card?
Because I think it was very silly. It's like, yeah, I'm in Russia. Why doesn't it take a Russian card? It was just because I think that particular terminal had not been updated with mirror yet. But if you're not, and also if you have a card, because like I know some people use crypto cards, like cards actually connected to their Bitcoin account, they work in Russia. If you're not sure, don't guess. Don't be like, I think my cards work in Russia and then find out they don't. You can look online, like your bank, like start on your bank website, or go on a search engine and be like, does Union Pay, where does Union Pay work? Where does RuPay work? Mm-hmm. You can find out online, but research it before you go to Russia, not afterwards. Also, one thing that's good to know for visitors, like if you get in trouble and like, for example, there's an emergency and you have to go home. If you go on a Western booking site like booking.com, you can still buy flights out of Russia. You can't buy flights to Russia, but you can sometimes buy flights out of Russia. And I think it's because...
interesting. Yes, how people can buy flights.
And I think it's because if you are using an American card and you're booking a flight that starts in Moscow and ends in New York, it's because it ends in New York, and New York is in America.
So you can't come to Russia, but if you're in Russia, you can buy flight tickets, come back to.
Yes.
Wow, very interesting.
So for your budgeting, when you're deciding where, how much money should I move to my Russian account, how much should I keep in my Western account, that's good to know, because maybe you want to split. But I will say Turkish Airlines, if you're coming from, I don't know about East Asia or like India, but if you are coming from a Western country, like North America or Western Europe, Turkish Airlines is probably, unfortunately, Turkish Airlines is kind of more expensive. It's a premium airline. But it's a very nice airline, and they're
Turkish
reliable.
Airlines became expensive. I remember in previous time, until sanctions, I remember Turkish Airlines, they were not expensive, right? And now they became expensive.
When I visited Russia for the first time in winter 2021, so a little over 3 years ago, and I don't remember what airlines, it was like a German airline and a Swiss airline that I used. I booked round trip tickets from the USA to Moscow, and it was like $700 for a round trip, which is very, very cheap. And now it's like $1,600 one way. It's crazy.
Someone's writing, you can't work on a visa.
Yes, and Reton is correct. You can't work specifically, you can't work a Russian job. You can't work in the Russian economy. on a visit visa.
Visit visa, what kind of visa he meant?
Well, like a tourist visa.
Tourist visa. Yeah, tourist visa you can't, business visa you can't, but you can with residence permit.
Yes, residence permit you can, work permit or a patent, as MK said. Yes, and the reason why is, ultimately the reason why is you can only do what your visa says. So if you have a tourist visa, you can only be a tourist. If you have a business visa, you need to come to Russia and do that business that you told them that you're coming to do. You can't.
Yeah, it means that you can do some business meetings, visit some exhibitions, but you can't work. So you need work visa.
But yes, so okay, we have Ramesh. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that name incorrectly. I apologize if I said that wrong. But hi from India. I need to come to Russia. What can I do? Well, and this is advice I would give to everybody. I would say don't be in a hurry. Like, don't rush. Like, don't be too excited, because if you go too fast, you can get in trouble. Because moving to any country, especially a country that has a lot of sanctions, making things more difficult. It's a long process. It's kind of an expensive process. It's kind of a big decision too. I mean, just because you want to go live somewhere else, okay, maybe you come to Russia, you don't like it. Maybe it's just not the type of country I want to live in. So I would say my advice for everyone would be to go to visit the Russian consulate's website for your country, whatever that country happens to be, see what kind of visas they offer. Because I would actually get a tourist visa first, because they have that private visa, but a tourist visa is better if you're just going to be a tourist. I would say get a tourist visa first and visit Russia a couple of times.
In different seasons, for example, how Russia looks in summer, especially in winter. Yeah, because maybe you will get, I don't know, shock, because if Russia is different than your country, and so especially for Indians, Indian people can get electronic visa, visa for 2 weeks, so you don't need to get any kind of invitation letter, so very easy to get. And if you want to stay more than 2 weeks, also, guys, I provide invitation
letters.
So guys, so I will write my email. Also, you can find my email here on my website, and I will write my email. You can always contact me, and I can provide for you travel invitation letter and business also invitation letter. You can come business invitation, guys, also you can get and stay for 1 year, and means multi-entrance, and you can come to Russia, live 1 month, then come back to your country, and then come again.
So and also when you're here as a tourist, you can maybe there's some things, if you're thinking about immigrating to Russia, there, even as a tourist, there are some important things you can do, like you can open a bank account, because I was able to open a bank account with just a tourist visa. And that's a thing you will need to do. You can get some of your, because Russia, it is very important to have notarized translations of your documents. So that's another task you can finish just as a tourist, even before you get, because maybe you say, okay, I'm going to visit Russia as a tourist 2 times. And then those 2 times I visit, I'd say visit once in, I think, spring and winter are good times to visit Russia, because it gives you an understanding, because they're very beautiful times of year, but it also gives you an understanding of what Russia is like at different times of year. And there's different things to do. So it's cool to come in spring, maybe see the Victory Day parade is, the biggest holiday in Russia. And it's also very beautiful that time of year. And also then you can come back for New Year's, because that's the second big holiday in Russia. So you can see.
Why do you choose Moscow? Why did you no before making decision when to live in Russia? Did you travel to other cities in Russia, and why do you prefer Moscow? Or if not Moscow, when do you want to live in Russia?
Well, for me, it's just because I happen to know someone there. But I would say even for someone who doesn't know anybody in Russia, Moscow is probably the best place to start, because one, it's the capital of the country and the biggest city. And also it is one of the most amazing cities in the world. And it's one of those places where you can't run out of things to do. Like you could, because some cities are smaller. You visit for like a week and you basically seen everything, and you say, okay, I'm bored now. But Moscow is so big, you could stay there for a whole month and still not see everything. And also, there's also cities closer. There's you have the Golden Ring of towns of historically significant towns and cities, but they're all pretty close, or most of them are very easy to get to from Moscow. And even St. Petersburg, you can, depending what kind of train you buy, you can get not buy a train, but a train ticket. It's 6 to 8 hours from there. So you get a train ticket, or you could even get a commuter flight. So I think Moscow is the easiest place to visit for the first time. And also I think if you're an English speaker and don't speak very much Russian, it's also because there's more English infrastructure in Moscow, because they had the Olympics. Well, because Moscow has a lot of international tourism, and they also had the Olympics here. I think it was 2018. They had the Olympics here.
2018. Yes.
Yes.
I don't remember. Yes, maybe that 18. Mm-hmm.
And I know they changed a lot of the signs. They put new signs and maps in the metro. And a lot of museums and road signs, they put a lot of English stuff up, just because they knew they'd get a lot of foreigners who might get confused if they're in Russia and everything's in Russian.
Yeah, so guys, really, if you want to, it's better for you to speak really good Russian if you want to live in Russian countryside, because for Moscow, if you speak so, it's okay. But in other Russian cities, really, so learn Russian and feel free to live in other cities. So guys, here I will write, you can see this is my email, annaglobaltravel@gmail.com, for everyone who's writing about visa, so invitation letter. So it was question, how much you charge for invitation, guys. For invitation letter, it depends where are you from, because migration rules is that we have different price for every country. So that's why if you want me to tell you how much cost invitation letter, you have to send me where you're from, what is your country, no, I mean nationality, what kind of your citizen, and for how many days. So if you are going to get invitation letter for 2 weeks, it's one price. If you want to get 1 month, I can tell you that invitation letter you can get also for 3 months, for 6 months, and for 1 year. So please elaborate where you're from, what kind of invitation letter do you need, travel or business, and for how many days do you want to stay. And all documents you can send me here. So travel invitation, very easy. I provide during 1 day. So you just send me a copy of your passport, booking hotel, and I will provide. And also, guys, very important to know here, what you can recommend for people about renting an apartment. And did you face some difficulties with renting?
There is a Russian website called Sion, which is, and I'm sure Anna can recommend a couple other ones, but I like Sion because sometimes I like hotel rooms, but very often I just want to live in a normal apartment, in a normal furnished
But
apartment.
can a foreigner connect directly? Because I faced this situation when sometimes foreigners can't rent directly apartment, and they were searching agent who helped them. No, because
Do you mean short-term or long-term leases?
long term, short term, I think no problem. I think
Yeah, so
long term.
Sion I mentioned is a short term. It's like for long term, yes, it can be hard for a couple of reasons. One is in Russia. Russia, I would say most things are cheaper than in like other countries, because Russians grow their own foods, and there's a lot of things that are made in Russia, so they're homegrown, so they're cheaper. But one thing that is not cheaper for people on a Russian income is real estate. Real estate market's very competitive, especially in big cities like Moscow. So like if you see a nice apartment and you say, I want it, the problem is there's 10 other people who also want it. And I think also some Russian people who rent out their apartments only want to rent to another Russian because they know it's hard for even, Russian people living in Russia. It's hard to get an apartment. So some, and I know this because I ended up not doing it, but for a while I was thinking about getting a small one-room apartment close to the Language Institute because I was commuting 2.5 hours one way every day. So it's like 4.5 hours round trip every day. And it was very hard for me. So I was thinking about getting a one-bedroom or a one-room apartment closer to the school. Ended up not. But some Russian landlords will just say we only rent to Russians. They won't rent to foreigners. And also I think some people are scared that if they rent an apartment to a foreigner, he will just wreck the apartment and leave the country without paying. Because if you rent an apartment to a Russian person, that Russian person has to pay you or you'll get in trouble. But so they might be scared if they rent to a foreigner, he'll just leave and not pay.
And Lena, what can you recommend people who, if who is going to rent apartment? So only one way to find agent, or they can just
you can find it. You can. If you know enough Russian where it's easy for you, you can just go on websites. You don't necessarily need to pay an agent. You can just, if you're patient, you can just do it yourself and search those websites, communicate and directly talk to sellers and landlords on those websites. You can do it yourself. You don't necessarily need.
But if you don't, and for short term, it's possible, as you said. So maximum for how long period? For one day, one night?
For a short-term lease, so like you can get a furnished apartment on a short-term lease, just like Airbnb. I don't think Airbnb operates anymore in Russia.
No, Airbnb
or if
not
they did at all.
But there's Astravok website you can rent for 1 month, possible.
Yeah, there's several. So like a month, sometimes maybe more than that. Maybe you can contact one of those people and say, hey, is it okay if I stay for 2 months, or can I stay for the summer, for example? You might be able to get a special deal from someone to say, hey, for example, hey, I'm a student. I want to go take a language course for the summer, but I want an apartment. Is it okay if I rent from you for 3 months, for example? And he might say, well, yes, that's okay. I agree to that. Another thing that's good is because of the sanctions and the Western payments don't work, but most Russians understand and don't care. They just say pay when you check in. So you don't necessarily need to worry. So if don't panic because your Western cards doesn't work in Russia, you can just bring, you can bring cash, and then have some plan for how you're going to pay for things when you're in Russia. But you don't. But a lot of people just say pay. You don't need to pay a deposit. You can just pay on the day you check in.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a question: is Russia safe to visit? Well, yes, I would say. Is it the safest country in the whole world? No. There's some countries that are safer, but I would say for me as an American, I would say Russia is safer than the USA.
Why?
In most places. Well, because American cities are like they're like Hollywood movies. Everybody's shooting at each other. It's scary. And there's a lot of police. Russia actually has per capita double the number of police as the USA.
In Russia, we have more police than
more
USA.
police. Yes. So for every 1,000 people living in the USA, we have a certain number of police. And then for every 1,000 people living in Russia, there's twice that many police. So Russia has a lot of police. And I think there's just less guns on the street. And there's just less crazy stuff. So I would say not worry about crime too much. And his second question, but I would say on that same note, like a lot of people are scared that like Russian police are going to arrest you for no reason. That's not true. I know some Americans are scared about that. It's like they'll say, Russia is going to kidnap Americans and hold us hostage for ransom. And it's a silly thing to worry about. The main thing is you don't break the law. If you don't break the law, you're not going to get in trouble. What gets America, and the thing is also is the news, because there's a lot of propaganda. Whenever an American gets in trouble in Russia, it's always front page news, and the news talks about it all day. Oh, this poor American, Putin, arrested, personally came out of the Kremlin and arrested this American himself. But the thing is, Americans get in trouble everywhere, every day. Like Japan, Americans get arrested and go on vacation in Japan and drink too much and get in fights and get arrested in Japan. But it's not news because Japan isn't a bad country. Russia is the bad country. So if you're arrested in Russia, it's news. If you're arrested in Japan, it's not news. No one even cares that you were arrested. And of course, if you're an American in America and you get arrested because you drank too much and drove drunk, then no one cares. You're not. You just go to jail, and no one makes a newspaper article about you. As far as races,
I will answer for this question. I would like to learn Russian language. Can you help, guys? Yes, of course. I'm a Russian language teacher. This is my job. Of course, I can help you. As I mentioned, guys, you can join my website, annaglobaltravel.ru. So welcome. Just go to this website and read all details about my course. So there are two options. You can take my course and watch pre-recorded videos and sending me homework, means that you study by yourself, or you can take face-to-face classes online. So I'm flexible. I love my job, so I can follow your schedule. No problem. So welcome. Okay. Next question. About racism.
Yeah, so I don't think there's so I'm white. Russians can usually tell that even before, when I talk, of course, they can tell I'm foreign. But I think even just looking at me, because my face is not a Slavic face, I think usually Russians can even just tell just from looking at me that I'm foreign. But I don't think Russians are racist. Like even African Americans, Black people from the USA will say they face less racism in Russia than they do in America. Like they come to Russia, no one cares that they are black. Like no one treats them different or bullies them or anything like that. So no, I don't think. Maybe Anna has a different opinion, but I don't think you're gonna have too much problems
For
with
us,
racism.
it's hard to say because we are white, and actually, I didn't face with this, but it could be. It could be, but maybe it could be in some situation. I don't know how to say, guys. It's not, I think, about racism. It's about people in general. Actually, I faced this situation when I saw rude people, but it doesn't mean that all people rude. So I will, to be honest, I will not tell you that Russia is a perfect country. There are living angels. So you can see I am dressed in white. It doesn't mean that I'm angel. Yes, I did just look suit for me white color. So of course it could be not friendly people, but it doesn't mean that all of them. But it could be in any country, also in America. We can face with not friendly people in not only in America, in other countries. So I don't know. I can't send you 100% no racism, and also I will not tell you that everything perfect. So depends on the situation. Yeah.
I would say about Russians as a foreigner in Russia is that in Russia, it's, being polite is very important. So you can tell, like, even if someone doesn't like you, it's like, oh, I just don't like that kind of person. I don't like Americans, or I don't like black people, or something like that. You know, if he doesn't like a specific kind of person,
Yeah, not in general.
they're still going to probably be polite to you, even if they don't like you. Like if that person works at a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, or a gas station, and he's like, oh, and you come out and they see you, and he says, oh, I don't like that type of person, but he'll still be polite to you, usually, because being polite is just very, in my experience, like being polite.
But actually, Jan, you're not looking like a foreigner. You looks
You don't
like
think I look like a foreigner?
no.
No.
No, I think you look like local. Maybe you live long time here.
I'm not sure, but
No, because in
if,
Russia we have the same type of man like you.
oh, okay.
So, nothing specific. I mean that totally that I can say. Oh, it's not Russian person. So yeah.
Yeah, it's but to answer this, Aman has a lot of questions, but he's
Yeah,
asking.
I'm very
No,
active.
I can't answer all those questions, but I'll answer the one about
Which
working as a
question?
foreigner.
This,
If I want to
okay.
work as a foreigner, yes. And Reedhan, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that name correctly. Reedhan answered
The
first.
last
You need to
question. This one.
first you need to learn Russian. He is right, because well, I mean, maybe there are some jobs like you just work from home. Like maybe there's an IT job where you don't need to know very much Russian, because they just send you emails, and if you are confused about what the email says, you can use machine translate. But he's right. You do have to learn Russian. Sorry, and that's why I was saying at the beginning of the show, even though this new law says you don't need that language certificate, well, I mean, how are you going to talk to Russians if you don't speak Russian?
Yes, guys,
That's the
it's
problem.
rule for every country. I can tell you that could be some exceptions, like as I know in America, because you don't speak English, but you can find job, because in America, as I'm correct, there are living society, like there are living a Spanish speaking society, no, community, some group, and Russian language speaking people, and other languages. And if you find your community, you can live at, and I know that in America they have also Chinese districts, Russian, and sometimes Americans can't come. But if I am correct or not, again, you can tell. But in Russia, no, we don't have close community. It means that everywhere we speak Russian, everywhere. So it's impossible for you to stay without language. No, maybe if you find if your family here and you maybe, guys, you don't need language only in one way. If you are a rich person, if you are a billionaire, yes, you don't need, because we will pay. Like also I can say that in my case, in my in past, until this time when I became Russian language teacher, I was working like a personal assistant, and I was working like interpreter. And my boss, he said, why should I spend time for learning language if I can during this time I earn more than I will pay you, like interpreter, for example. So if you have as much money that you can pay for people who will be your interpreter, but most of us not so rich, so we need Russian language, no, local language when you travel, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I'll answer Sudhir's question real quick. The guy who's 42 years old.
Yes, I think no.
So, yes.
No.
Yeah, there's no problem.
No, I mean problem. We have limit.
Not as a foreign student, though.
No, it depends. So if he wants to learn, if he wants to get bachelor degree, no. But if he wants to get master degree, or if he wants to learn, for example, Russian language and to get course, yes. But we have limit for it's, по-моему, 36. As I know, 36 years old is maximum if you want to get first education, I mean bachelor degree. But for Russian language, no. Do you remember, Jan, in Pushkin Institute, it was the student 70 years old.
Yes.
Maybe
there was
75. Some guy from German.
Yes, but they were just they were not pursuing. I don't think those guys were pursuing a degree. They were just taking
Russian language course, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to study Russian language in university, welcome in any age. But if you want to get education, like student bachelor degree, I don't know about master degree, I have to check, but bachelor degree, no. Yeah. So do we have other questions?
No, I guess that's probably good. My dog is beating down the door. He wants me to take him on a walk.
Yeah. Okay. So guys, if you don't have any questions to Yen, he have to go. So let's say thank you to Yen for joining the show. So I wish you, no, I'm your teacher, of course. I wish you to learn Russian language and pass exam. And I hope to see you soon in our vlogs. So soon we will do video with Yen. So Yen, bye. Guys, I will stay with you. We'll check your questions. So Yen, goodbye. Have a good evening. Bye. So guys, if you have any questions, you can ask me. If not, we will complete our show. So we have, I have a few minutes with you to talk. So guys, for summarizing, right? So you can see here my website. You can see that it's very important to learn Russian language, because without Russian language, life here will be complicated. And as I said, don't worry. Learning Russian language, it could be a nice journey, and I'm your teacher here to help you. So we can learn with you step by step. So don't worry. There are so many opportunities to learn language, like face-to-face classes. And if you don't have time for face-to-face classes, or maybe it could be expensive for you, but I created the best and the most budget way to learn a language is joining my course. So because you just pay a few amount and you get 20 pre-recorded videos. It looks like you have 20 classes per teacher. So everyone can go to my website and see more details about my course. So guys, any questions about learning Russian language, about a visa? No questions? Or maybe also for people who is watching this video not in live, who will watch it after show. Also, guys, you can write your questions in comments, and Yen will read these comments and answer for you. And also, we are going to do new video with Yen, so also he can answer. Okay. Anna, is this live show was really informative. I love it. Keep up the good work. Пока. Subhir, thank you very much, guys. I'm really happy if this show was useful for you. I really want you to be informed about situation here, about what kind of visa you can get. Curious which city both of you live. Guys, we live in Moscow, so I live in Moscow, and Yen, he's my student, he also live in Moscow, and I teach him here in Moscow, so I provide classes in person. So if you now in Moscow, welcome. I can teach you Russian, so you can see I have a board, and I teach here, my home office, and I can come to my students at home. Also, if there are more than one students, if it's a group, also I rent class and teach. So welcome. You can study with me. Also, you can study in university. Welcome. Thank you for asking. Anna, email request for my questions. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, guys, everyone can write to my email if you have some specific questions. So you can, guys, always write your questions in my in comments. But if you have some specific question and you want me answer for you, so welcome. You can write to email, and you okay. Guys, if I didn't answer to your question, you can write again, because I'm checking, did we mention all questions? So this question is not about this topic. Do Russians need a visa to travel to Turkey? No, we don't need visa. And I know we have free visa, I don't remember, maybe 1 month, so I can come to Turkey without getting visa. Or as I remember, I forgot, when I was last time in Turkey, we came to airport and we got a visa very fast, so we don't need to follow some process. But this is not topic about this today's show. Okay, also not about topic, but I will answer. How many countries have you traveled, Anna, so far? So I am not big traveler. Because I'm a hardworking person. I work a lot, so I don't have time actually for traveling. And most of countries I visited because of job. Also, if I had some business trips, I visited like Italy, Germany, Montenegro. What else? Czech Republic, Spain, England. I was living in London. I was living in Canterbury. That's it. I don't remember. Yes, I think not much. Not much. So, guys, was nice talk with you, and Okay, as I said, go to my website, annaglobaltravel.ru, if you want to learn Russian language, if you need any kind of travel support. Also, you can always write me here or in comments, or you can write me directly to my email. All my contacts, guys, I always write in the description of the video, so you will see. And I'm going to do also a live show. I will do it on a Saturday in our normal time. No, today it was like a special extra live stream for you because Ian, he is busy for Saturday. That's why I invited him today. And on Saturday, I will do special live show for you. So follow me. I'm going to talk about how much cost um life in Moscow. So I will speak with you about money. I will tell you how much money I spent. It's very useful if you're going to live in Russia, especially if you want to move here. It's very important to you to know how much money we local people spend here. And also, I will give you the tips how to keep your money. Also, these tips, it's a special bonus for you. You can use these tips not only in Russia, in other countries, because I live very economically. I don't spend much money, so I can share with you tips how to keep your money. Yeah. Thanks for streaming. I've subscribed. Thank you. So, guys, yes, and if you want to support my job, my channel, the best way to do it for free, what you can do, you can subscribe, you can put like, write comments in, I don't know how much words, maybe 3 words at least. Yes, you need to write comments, share. It's the best free support. And if you want to support by money, I have PayPal. You can see here PayPal. This is my PayPal. Any donation is appreciated, so I will be happy if you send any kind donation. I don't know, $5 as also it's okay, any donations, I'm happy. Also here you can use in YouTube channel, you can use super chat and super stickers, and all your donations I will use for developing my channel and for doing new vlogs for you that help you to get new information. So guys, was nice talk to you. See you next time. I see the question. Have you traveled to Turkey? Yes, of course. I have been in Turkey. No, we Russian people, I think most of Russians travel because Turkey is very close to Russia, to Moscow. No, I mean to Moscow. And now, of course, it's unfortunately because of sanctions, it's very expensive now for us travel to Turkey and travel abroad. And but until sanctions, I visited Turkey a lot. Yeah, so it was budget holiday for us, for Russians. But now it's not budget, so. Mm, mhm. Okay. So guys, my PayPal, if you want to support me, my website, if you need Russian language classes, annaglobaltravel.ru, and what else, and my email. If you have extra questions and you want to ask me about something directly, you can write me to email and I will answer for all your questions. So guys, it was nice talk to you. Thank you for watching, and see you on next live shows, and see you on next videos. Thank you for listening. Bye for now. Пока-пока. So goodbye, everyone. See you next time. Bye for now. Пока-пока.